Okay, I've always wanted to try running a campaign for years. I've been building worlds and maps. I'm a huge map fanatic, but I've always lacked the confidence in running a group. I'm afraid that they'll try to do something that I'm not prepared for, and then I'll just end up grinding the game to a halt as I try to think of a reaction for whatever they're wanting to do. I've talked about this quite a bit in the last few days. I think you've been in here during that time. You should have an I guess one of the things that they mention it best in one of the guides, I don't remember which one, but they're basically like, the best way to do it, in their opinion, was to just have a general idea of how the story goes, or how the adventure will go. Like, they need to find information on how to get from here to here, you know? And then just really trying to flow with the characters on how they try to attain that goal. Having a couple of good ideas about how they might go about it is always a good idea, but players are completely unpredictable. They will think of things that you didn't think of that seem like very reasonable ways to go about their goals. Maybe you'll forget something. Maybe they'll just roll really good on something you didn't think they'd be able to do. I think that that's a good idea to go about it. Just have some general things. I like to write script for my characters just because I think it flows a little better. But if I wanted to go pretty minimalistic, I would say figure out the very basics about what are your people trying to achieve, okay? And how are they gonna, or how can they achieve that goal? And try to think up those things. If you have characters or NPCs that you want to push, try to be very minimal with them. Give them a name, maybe a slight description, you know, maybe 1 or 2 lines, and then maybe 1 or 2 lines of their motivation, like why they might want to or not want to help the PCs. After that, it's really, you gotta jump in. It's not as hard as you would think. And if you tell, the other thing too is sometimes you can just ask your players to cut you some slack. Just be like, hey, it's my first time DMing. But don't punish them. Like, don't punish them just because they were thinking outside of the box. But at the same time, there has to be a sort of concession of the players as to something, you know. Yesterday I was talking about how it's like, hey, do you guys want to raid the Tomb of Horrors? Well, we don't want to do that. Well, I guess everybody's going home then, you know. That's what I have prepared for you guys. I've had to, and sometimes that's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I've had to cut one session I had to cut incredibly short. We were supposed to play between 4 to 6 hours, and I cut it off at 2.5, I believe. Just because the NPCs didn't really bite on the couple of plot hooks that I had. But even though they didn't bite on those plot hooks, they were still progressing with the story in a logical manner. So I didn't want to punish them for that. You know, and so, you know, it sucks. I lose a couple maps, but I can always recycle those maps later. It's not like they're useless. I can just repurpose them. And yeah, you cut the session a little short, that's fine. But that shouldn't be the issue. The issue is when the players just don't want to do anything. Like, they just want to completely derail the campaign for no particular reason. If players don't like the direction the campaign is going also, I think one of the best things that you can do as a DM is after every session kind of talk with your players and say like, okay guys, like, on your current train of thought, like, where do you think you guys are going to go next? And that'll give you an idea of where you need to develop the next adventure at. And give you an idea of what the players are thinking. This stops you from trying to anticipate where the players are going next with their characters and then just being completely wrong and having nothing prepared. So I guess the bullet points of that rant were have a basic idea of where the players are going and how they might get to that destination, whether it's a goal or a destination. Be flexible. You know, kind of allow things that are a little outside of the box. If you have NPCs, make kind of very general guidelines on their description, what they do, and their motivations, and how those intersect, or I wouldn't say intersect, how those interact with the player choices. And lastly, don't be afraid to talk with your players, both during session and after session, to see where they're going, what they plan on doing. Or maybe just ask them to cut you a break every once in a while. If you also don't feel like you're prepared for a session, sometimes it is better to almost like just let the session go for the week. You know, just go, hey guys, I really want to run today's session, but it's just I can't. Like, I'm not fully prepared on it. You know, don't do that too much though, because as you should expect the players to be prepared and punctual, you should be as a GM as well. But every once in a while, it's just unavoidable. That's a concession you have to make. You know, you're dealing with real life. People's real lives should always supersede a video game. Or not a video game, but a tabletop game. Video games also.